Zlurpcast TV, episode 4, talking about Warhammer Underworlds, talking about Shadespire, talking about Nightvault, talking about Beastgrave over there. I love this game. You'll know when we get to the ratings at the end how much I love it. If I could put my thing into a Zlurpee, that would count as a little extra in there. I want to talk to these fellas first and get their opinion, because when I bought the game first, it was Shadespire, the first version of it. We didn't know what to expect for many reasons. We bought it because the new game looks kind of cool, like a board game. We realized that right off the bat, the first thing I thought of was, this does not feel like a Games Workshop game at all. It felt like a Fantasy Flight kind of game. You know, there's fantastic models, which reminds you it's Games Workshop, but it's on a hex. You build a deck. There's a very much a deck building element to it, and there's actions you take with models. That could be any other board game company, not Games Workshop. And so I realize a lot of people who don't play GW games took to this one pretty quickly. And I think some people that do love GW probably blew it off. Like, oh, I don't need that. Age of Sigmar, same models, except I got 100 of them. Like, no, it's nothing to do with any of that. In fact, the models are technically irrelevant to what you're doing. They look cool, they match on the card, but it is really about the cards you pick, the cards you draw, and the tactics you do in the game there. People didn't know what to expect. It also got very competitive very quickly when it came out. And I think that turned some people off and turned some people on. That was, correct me if I'm wrong, when we bought it at Grognard Games, right when it came out, immediately there were tournaments, right?
Pretty much, yeah, I would say within the first month.
Yeah.
And GW supported the tournaments fairly quickly, too, like Shadespire Glass.
Yeah. So I think I played Mike the first game, I think. And we both had that moment because, again, we were coming from, when you play a GW game, you expect to do GW things. And that is not what this game has. So immediately we're both like, man, could have used the fourth turn because there's only 3 turns in the game. And we're like, yeah. And it's like later on, that's part of the beauty of the game, is how to accumulate glory in a very small amount of time. But that was kind of what we felt. It was like when you play a battle, like, oh, this could have went one more turn, anybody's game, those kind of things. That's not what this is. So we had to get that out of your head completely and really think about how you want to play that warband, that faction, how you want to build your deck, what kind of objectives you want to go to. And so I liked it for a while. I showed my wife the game. She thought it was cool. We put it away for a while. And then when we moved to Colorado, we busted it out again, realized it's really fun. And then I bought the newest one, Beastgrave, to get kind of up to date on everything. But I wanted to throw it to you guys, since I've played more often than you. What are some thoughts you have with the game, and what are some questions you want me to go over?
I'm interested in the whole seasons aspect. Now, we kind of discussed offline a little bit that, of course, when you're playing with your friends, you play with whatever you want with. But the season part intrigues me because I like to buy things on a schedule.
Yeah, so when Beastgrave came out, they didn't do this before. So you can look at it as Shadespire is, so it's kind of funny. Like, I still find myself saying, let's play Shadespire. It's just because I don't know why that, like, boom, boom. It's like a Warhammer Underworld sounds clunky. And then, like, there's people now, they're like, let's go play some Beastgrave. I want to be like, don't call it that. Call it this. Reality is whatever you want. But that's kind of, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know. I think we even thought that, like, Shadespire was going to be their, as I thought this, their fantasy version. I thought maybe they'd been like a 40K. I didn't know what to expect, why they put, like, the moniker of Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire. I didn't know. I now learned that sort of, yes, it's a season 1, 2, and 3, but also it's kind of different game boards inside, a different setting as well in there for lore enthusiasts such as Biron. So Shadespire comes out, first one, basic rules, everybody gets how to play it. Nightvault comes out, they add some things in there. They add magic users in there. So you can have some of the warbands have wizards in there to do that. They've split some things off. It used to just be the power cards were upgrades and ploys. Now they're upgrades and gambits. And what is a gambit? Well, it's either a ploy or a spell. So because they wanted to incorporate the spells in there. So then Beastgrave comes out. They clean up the rules even more. No giant changes. There are lethal hexes added to push people in to hit damage. That might have been in this one. I think it came out of Beastgrave. The big thing Beastgrave did, though, was really clean up the rules. Is it the wrong way? The big thing Beastgrave, they really cleaned up the rules. So not that the rules were bad. They were actually really well written. They were very un-GW. They were like, there's no gray areas. There's no will. I always use the dumb analogy of, 40K joke of, so Howling Banshees always strike first. Well, the witches say I make the opponent always strike last. And like, what do we do? There's always those moments in GW games where they directly contradict. That didn't happen. So the fact that they've cleaned up the rules each edition, in my opinion, didn't need it. Now, tournament people would say it did need cleaned up. So what Beastgrave did was they assigned some keywords to the game, a lot of them actually. So that way, instead of repeating certain things, you can just say, whenever it says scything, this weapon is scything, that means you attack multiple guys. You do them one after another.
Whenever they're not doing this thing happens and we're going to call it 17 different things.
Right. So they get keywords to it, like on the objectives. There's an objective keyword called surge. All that means is you claim it right away when you do it. Claim this when you kill an opponent's leader. It says surge on it. So it still usually says shit on the card. So I don't know if it really was needed, but probably for tournament play, it allows you to make these, clarifications. All surge cards are now, you know what I mean? So it's almost a reference more than needed in my opinion, but I kind of get why they did it. So
I kind of like how local groups do their own thing. Like, it does this. Oh, you mean like look out, sir? It's the look out, sir, for this game.
So actually, give me 1 second. I just want to the seasons part. So just to kind of sum up, the cards that came out with all the factions in Shadespire are fine in Nightvault, and that was fine. Beastgrave comes out and they make a list, and it's on GW's website. And that list says, here are the, I'm getting the terms wrong, but one is a list of banned cards that you can't use. One is a list of restricted cards, I think is the term they use, which means you get 1 or 2 per your deck. I forgot what it is. And so, like Biron said, if you're playing with your friends, who cares, right? Here's the thing. I don't know why I care about certain things. I'm probably not going to play a tournament, but there's a monster card box above my shelf that has now let's explain. It's the universal cards from Shadespire you can use. You can always use faction-specific ones, no matter what. Season after season of season, if you got the corn guys from the first one, you can always use those. What you can't use are the universals from the first one. And so they're banning universals from over 2 seasons ago, and then they're coming up with an ongoing list of can't have these, and you can only have a select amount of these. That's it. I mean, it's a lot, but that is essentially the season's wrapped up. When there's a season 4, it's going to nullify probably all of the universal cards with all of the Nightvaults, both the warbands that come in the box and the ones that came out in that release. So that's kind of what they're doing. I actually put all my universals from Shadespire in a different box. I'm not using them. Again, it doesn't matter. I play with my wife mostly, but I also have enough cards where it doesn't matter. If I was a hobo, as Biron would say, and I didn't have many cards, I'd probably no. But I have 8 playable warbands, but I've actually bought probably 14 of them just for the cards. So I have almost, I don't want to say all of them. There's a lot. I have a lot of the cards. So
any foils, bro?
No, there's no foils. Funny thing though, so this Games Workshop, huge company, right? The backs are different, not like different design, but like production-wise different. Those are things when I was making a game I would flip out about. And yet Games Workshop's like,
whatever.
If you care, sleeve them. If you don't, shut up. Like, I'm like, I care about those things. I shouldn't. But that's kind of, in a nutshell, the seasons, the changes with each game, and the cards you can use. All warbands are compatible. And I will say this, well, I'll let you go with questions, but everything's compatible. They're just 2 seasons ago, universals are technically out in the list.
I think you just answered my question. I was going to ask about models from the first season, if they're still able to use. So if I had like a Shadespire warband, I would just need to update my cards, and that you're still good to go with Beastgrave.
You can play probably with the cards you have even, because I think there's enough, not the universals, but there's enough, I think, I could be wrong, but I think there's enough faction-specific cards for every single one if you wanted to. Now, I wouldn't recommend it because you want some universals. There's some that you always take. Like when Heather and I played, we were building them, we had drafted the cards because +1 movement, best thing in the game. Like there's a bunch of crazy cards, but I mean, movement is so crucial in the game. +1 movement's huge. You attach it to a character. Anybody. +1 wounds. Who wouldn't want that? You make your leader from 3 to 4, it could save his life. So, I mean, there's some universals that are very powerful. The thing that kind of sucks a little bit is some of those ones that were printed as universals in Shadespire were just reprinted in that. And it's the same card. So there's one that says +1 wounds in Shadespire, can't use it. +1 wounds in Nightvault, I can use it. That does kind of suck because it's the same card. I would think there might be something written on that FAQ. I could be wrong. There might be something written that says if the exact wording is the same, it is okay, but I might be wrong. I think they're looking for a little symbol in the corner. There's a symbol that denotes which season it came from. So I think that's what tournament organizers will look at. Again, we shouldn't care about tournaments, but I got into that mode.
Some of our listeners might.
Some might, and again, I'm playing just at home, but I don't know why. I just felt like I should probably put those cards away. Because, I don't know, it's just easier. What if I get used to playing a certain way, get those cards, then I do want to play at my local store. And I find everybody's cool, it's a friendly tournament, and then I go in, I just don't want. So I just figured, you know what, fuck it, I got enough, I'll just put them away. But that's kind of, where it goes with the different warbands.
But if I came into it as like a super casual person, I had one warband and that's just all I wanted to play. I could keep playing it through the seasons. I might need to update my deck. My card deck.
So there was a release for Beastgrave. I forgot what it's called, like the gift pack or something like that. And it's actually a pretty good buy. It's like, I think it's less than $20. And it gives you like a play mat to put all your cards and a bunch of universals that you don't get in any of the boxes either. Now, some might be the same text, but like different art, maybe on a couple. But for the most part, they're all brand new cards. So they did that for exactly that case. Because when I went to my local store and said, hey, I bought Shadespire a long time ago. How do I get up to speed? He first showed me that. I, of course, bought that. And then another one of that to get more. And then I went nuts. Because I didn't realize how much I liked it until we started playing more and more. And so I like, when we first got it, we dabbled. And then I put my toes back in again. And then I got that one little thing. And then I realized, shit, this is so good. I bought a lot at that point, so I was good. But to your point, Extreme, you would want to upgrade. It's probably a good idea to either buy the newest box set for the cards or go to eBay. There are people that are just piecing everything out. So I think the box is 50. I could be wrong. What?
70.
What? Really?
70.
Oh, I don't think the other ones are 70. But I could be right. So if you just want universals, I'm pretty sure they shrink wrap them separately. What's really funny is in all the initial ones, when you got a box, let's say you bought the dwarf pack, they were all like mixed together. And now they're starting to put one shrunk wrap one that says warband specific, one shrunk wrap that's universals. So if you wanted just the universals, you can take that and then sell off or give to a friend to get into it. So they're trying to get smarter with the realization, and we talked about this on a previous episode about buying extra product to stay up to date. This is that times 100. This is very a big part of the game. But they're getting smarter with what they put inside the box. So now, when I dumped all the extra sprues of like, I'm never going to play these warbands, but I wanted those cards. I was easy to find a buyer for all that because he probably just wanted extra models for Age of Sigmar or who knows what. But I gave him extra stuff because I didn't need it. I just wanted the universals out of there. So that was kind of cool that they did that at least.
Does that also apply to objective cards? Or did they change?
Are they in multiple sets?
Or are the objective cards from Shadespire different from those in Beastgrave? And are they valid or?
Let me double check. That's it. I assume yes. But let's look right now. We get a live look. By the way, this game doesn't fit on any shelves.
Nice pants.
Look at this. Yeah, thanks. Look at this bad boy. Let's take a look. We've got
I feel overwhelmed.
Yes.
Pass.
You say Overpower? Remember that game?
Oh, that's not just Beastgrave stuff in there.
Oh, good.
Oh no, it's not.
You scared me there for a second.
Oh no. Sorry. You know what else we got in here, by the way? Extra.
Oh, come on.
Shrunk wrap.
Nice.
Oh.
Nib. New in box.
New in box. So I've got, where are they at here? Oh, Dreadball cards. That's cool. Will I ever use those again?
Do you use cards as bookmarks?
Here we go.
Those make good bookmarks.
There are objectives in there, which means, yes, Mike, it is part of this season as well.
Okay.
So here's the thing, though. The big objectives that everybody uses, there's some weird ones, but most of the weird ones are faction specific. So you get those no matter what anyway. Most of the universal ones, things like hold objective 1, objective 2, 3, hold 2 and 5, hold 3, hold 1 more than your opponent. All of those objective-based ones about objectives on the battlefield, those are all just reprinted over and over again. So I'm not saying it's a good thing because you have to rebuy stuff, but if you play your deck a certain way, for the most part, you'll always be able to play that way. You just might have to buy a couple of things to stay up to date. You know what I mean? I think the one I was thinking about, there's a card that says Supremacy. It's 3 glory you get for doing it, and it's hold 3 objectives. That one is reprinted in every single set because everybody has, well, a lot of people use that card. It's very common, but they want to make sure that's not part of the, you're never going to get it again. It gets reprinted. So again, the one thing I'm unclear on is if you can still use it if it's the same exact card, just happens to have the old logo in the corner. I'm not sure on that, but I guess a tournament organizer could allow for it too.
I have a couple of basic questions. We jumped right into the seasons and stuff there, but I've played 2 demo games of Shadespire, so it's been a very long time. So model count, if I remember right, it's like 3 to 5 models per side. And how long does a game take?
So actually, it depends on models. My undead one is 7.
7, yeah.
And they're all super weak, and they all move 2, and it's very slow and methodical. But the warden can actually have 2 move at a time, like he's commanding them to move forward. The game itself is about an hour, the way I play. I think tournament players who played in 30 or 40 minutes. My games are usually about an hour, though. So the way it breaks down for anyone, I'm not going to do, obviously, a review. You can watch those on, or a gameplay video. You can watch the very attractive Becca Scott do one for Games Workshop. And it's a great video. But it is basically, once you go through setup and you choose your board and everything, where everything goes, you then at that point, there's 3 different rounds to do stuff. And in each round, you activate 4 models. And between each activation, you do a power step where you're playing cards. That's the card game portion of it against your opponent, trying to do things like, okay, I know I get the next turn, so I'm going to play a gambit card that says +1 damage to next attack. Next activation. Well, I'm playing that now because I know I get the next activation. I wouldn't play that in the previous one. So you go through that, 4 activations, then the end step. That's when you cash in. You basically take your objectives. I got this, I got this, I got this. You take your glory, you buy stuff with your glory, and then you do it again, and you do it again. 3 rounds, and then the game ends. There is not as much of the old, I wish I had a 4 turn. That was really more of a, I'm new to the game. Now we know that. In fact, there's a lot more objectives now that say, score this in the 3rd end phase if. And I always get those at the beginning. And it drives me insane because if it's really good and I really think I'm going to get it, I'm going to hold on to it. And I got to make sure that now you only have 3 objectives each round. So now I'm only have 2 because I know I'm holding this one until the end. Usually when I get one of those in my first draw, I do a mulligan, and then I know I'm not going to get it again, but I hate wasting a slot at the first round knowing I've got to wait forever to try to cash that in. Who knows what's going to happen at that point? So I think when it comes to that side of it, so you mentioned about timing extreme. There are 2 different extremes of the game. You have the Stormcast Warband, there's a couple of them. They have 3 models. Because they all hit really hard. They're all really strong. They've got a bunch of skills. They're going to get a bunch of attachments or upgrades rather. And they're really good. What happens though, you lose 1 and you have an objective. Stand down, or yours says must have a model on all 3 objectives. 1 just died. It really screws your plans over. The thing is, that warband I know some people online say that the latest and greatest is always better, and that's also very typical GW, but I also said this is very non-GW game. That first warband that came in Shadespire, the Stormcast, is one of the best overall, in my opinion. They're the first ones I painted, they're the first ones I had, first ones I played with. They are still one of the best overall because they're so powerful. And you plop on an objective, you put your guy on guard, he can't be pushed back. They're really good. And they get inspired, they're even better. On the flip side, another army I like playing a lot is the Undead. It's 7 models. That's every spot on the board because there's 7 starting hexes on the board. So everyone's
talking about the skeleton undead, right? Because there's other undead factions. Right?
Oh yeah, thank you. I don't have the other ones. So there's ghouls, and then there's the wraiths.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skeleton undead. I like playing them a lot, but I have to really think. They're a harder one for me to play. So I'll talk about some of the ones I've got. So that one, I mentioned those 2. They're both, I think, I don't want to say what's advanced or not, but what's advanced in my head is different than other people. But I feel like those 2 I have to think a little more. When my wife and I play, we just want to just play. I play Khorne, she plays orcs, and we just beat the shit out of each other. There is very little strategy involved, more with Khorne than orcs. Orcs surprisingly, not surprisingly, but you think Khorne would be the most just fucking kill everything, but they're so weak.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking about that, how they don't play how you think they would by the lore.
No, I try to think about it like these are not Chaos Warriors.
They're marauders.
They're marauders, cultists, basically. So the guy with the big axe does do a big damage, but he can also die in one hit too. Orcs are pretty badass. Orcs are I think, is there more than one orcs or just the one? I think it's just the one.
Ask you that question.
Yeah, I don't know all of them, but
I know
there's goblins.
Yeah, there's goblins and goblin riders, but I thought there was what's the orcs that are the tougher ones? The brutes?
The Auric, yeah.
I might be getting confused with Warcry, but either way.
Yeah.
The orc guys,
I don't see them. I'm looking at the website right now. So
okay. The original orcs that came out with Shadespire are very good.
Yes.
They got good armor. They hit very hard. They're very tough. They're a very good warband. So when we played last night, just so I can make sure the game was fresh in my mind, and it actually ended up 8 glory to 8 glory. It was actually a draw for real. The funny thing is, I scored 6 of my 8 in the first round because I had hold 3 objectives. I got them. I happened to get them all right there. And undead or graded objective holding. I made the deck all built. Their deck is all objective based, and some weird undead-ish ones too. Like if you bring 2 back in the same round, you get a glory's one of them. But I got I think 5 or 6 of my 8 in the first round, and she had virtually none. Orcs do have, obviously killing gets you 1 too. You kill somebody, you get a glory for that too. But their objectives, a lot of them are based around fighting. So the fact that I wasn't moving a whole lot, and when I did, it was moving 2, she had to come and get me there. And the great thing about when you lure somebody in, there are a lot of objectives that say, score 2 glory if you've got a model in your warband on your turf, 1 in no man's land, and 1 in theirs. So it's kind of cool. Like whenever I notice somebody, it's like an empty net in hockey. Whenever I notice someone, they bring them on. I'm like, okay, cool. I hope I get something soon. Let me take advantage of this open area there. But it's, constructing decks is the most important part of this game. And it's really fun because what we try to do is we've built our decks. We really haven't changed anything in there in the last 3-4 months. We played a bunch. We try to keep it like, hey, we built these as this. Let's learn how to play with these. But to a more non-casual competitive gamer, they know that their meta changes. They could then alter their deck for that. I don't like doing that. I like to make a deck like I want to play undead this way and learn how to play this way because you don't know what cards you're going to get. There's some strategy to how many cards you put in your power deck. There's 12 objectives. That doesn't change. But the only rules on a power deck is you can't have more gambits than upgrades. So I try to stick around 20. I think the minimum is 20. But I have a few decks that are like 24. So it's 12 and 12. Or 22, 11, and 11. You don't have to have even, but you just can't have more gambits than upgrades. But I try to keep decks low because I put these cards in there for a reason. because I want to get them when I play. As with any card game, I know it sounds very elementary, but the more cards you put in your deck, the less chance you're going to get the cards that you really want in that deck. So, you know, other games we play that have a set amount, you don't worry about. This game doesn't really have that. So I don't know what the meta is or what tournaments say, but to me, it seems crazy to put 30, 40 cards in your deck, because why the hell did you put those cards in your deck then, if now you've, you know, cut your chances in half of getting those on your draw.
Would you say the starting decks that come like Beastgrave's got 2 starting decks, would you say those are decent decks to learn with?
Good to learn with, but there's too many faction-specific ones in there. So
Okay.
There isn't really a rule of thumb. So I usually start with like half. So I'll usually pull off faction ones first. When I'm building a deck, I say, all right, so I picked the Blood Reavers. I got Khorne here. First thing is I grab all the Khorne cards. I grab the Khorne objectives. I grab the Khorne upgrades and gambits. Then from those, I try to pick, you know, not all of them, but the ones I think are really cool, really fun to do, things that'll really help with my style, and put those to the side. I try to fill out half the numbers with those first. So I'll grab 6, instead of, because 12 objectives total, I'll grab 6 faction specific. And then if I'm shooting for 20 in the power deck, I'll choose 5 and 5 of the faction specific upgrades and gambits. Then I'll go to my universal cards. And then that takes forever because there's so many good ones in there, and they keep amassing more and more. And then I go through there, pull out everything I want. It's usually way more than I have room for. So then I've got to decide, how bad do I want that universal card? Is it worth bringing the faction ones down a little bit? Usually I do. Undead I didn't, because Undead have a lot of very specific undeady things that let you do shit, like, you know, coming back and move, you know. So that one is very heavy on the faction specific, but I think the Stormcast one has a lot of universals in it. Things that are all general buffs, you know, +1 wounds, +1 damage, +1 attack, all that stuff to make them tougher and tougher. The other thing is, which we didn't talk about earlier, in the faction specific upgrades, a lot of them are character specific. So this card says +1 wounds for, you know, for Biron only. And I'm like, well, okay, how bad do I want that? I want that card, but what if he dies in the first round? What if he dies in the first activation? So I try not to go nuts with those. The ones that are really good, I do put in, but I try not to go crazy. The starter decks you mentioned, Mike, are filled with those. So those are usually the first ones to go, are faction specific, character specific, because they're just so situational. And, you know, and I mean, a few of them, like I have the Beastmen Warband, which is one of my favorites. That one's kind of cool because they have this character or this one. That helps a little bit. So if one of them died, I still get a chance. But it does really suck when you draw cards and they're ones you flat out can't use right off the bat. Stormcast does that all the time because there's only 3 models. You lose 1. I mean, if I had 2 for what's Bright Shield, the girl, like I think she has 2, I think, pretty good upgrades for her only. And if she dies in the first round, that sucks to know that those are waiting there for me to draw.
Yeah.
One thing with the factions too is I like that even with the rules of aging out cards, the fact that you could always use them no matter what. So if it did get to the point where people like the newer ones a lot, it's great, but that was a huge selling point. I didn't know when I made the huge leap back into it that I just assumed all my initial warbands I had were going to be garbage in the new rules. I mean, the fact that they add magic and like 5 now, I think 5 of my 8 warbands don't have wizards in them because they're all older than that. You know, I have, you know, Khorne, Orcs, Undead, Stormcast. Those 5, they have none of those have wizards. But I also have the Sylvaneth, you know, like the tree ones. Those have wizards. The Beastmen have a shaman. I've got the Centaur, Skates, Wild Hunt. They came in the box set actually, pretty cool. They have magic users too. But my first thought was, oh great, now they have magic. I assume because I don't have magic, I can't compete, and that's really not the case at all. In fact, what tends to happen with magic, with warbands that have wizards in there, you get burned more. Because if the wizard dies, now every time you draw one of those spell gambit cards, it's much like drawing an upgrade that goes with a character. Sucks, can't use it. So even with my beastman, my shaman, I only have, I think, 3 spells in the whole deck of 20 or 22, whatever I have. I think it's probably 3 spells. Probably, I think there's one that's like a magical charm that lets me get like a free success when I roll. One that's like a lightning bolt to give him some kind of range attack, and then one other one. There's a bunch you can take. But, I mean, there was one game I played where it's not Blood Bowl. There's no dodging. You just run right in. There's one game I played where Heather rushed this orc in with +1 movement, ran in, killed my leader in 1 shot in the first turn, used my wizard, and all these cards I had, all these upgrades, and half my deck felt useless at that point. So I learned from that, like, you really can't put all your eggs in one basket. With the smaller warbands, it's harder because there's, in the case of Stormcast, there's 3 models, so you have 3 baskets, you gotta do something, but I err more towards universal cards there that all of them could use. I try to stay away from those objectives that talk about surviving. There's a lot in there about, if at the end of the game you have at least blah, 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 those kind of things, those are tough to pull out. Undead's different because you keep bringing them back, and there's 7 of them. So the undead objective, I think, is have 5 on the board at the end of the game. That's very easy. Because if I only have 3 in the last round, I'm not doing shit at all. I'm not moving anybody. I'm wasting my actions on my warden to raise a bunch just to get him on the board, knowing that my opponent could probably only kill 1 per round. If I know I bring in 1, they can kill 1. I'm trying to just mitigate those, but it's all based on the objectives you take and the upgrades you take. So when you build your deck, the objectives are most important, but the other cards help you get to the objectives. You want cards to buff your guys, but you don't want too many because, I try to keep the minimum. The minimum is half. So if you have 20 in the deck, half would be upgrades. But upgrades cost glory to do. So if my first draw, start the game, I get 5 cards to start with. Well, you get 5. If I have 4 upgrades and 1 gambit, I'm probably going to do a mulligan because I can't use any of those cards except the 1 gambit until I get glory. Well, I need upgrades to get glory. I need to do stuff. So I really like when I get initial draw with a bunch of gambits in there because I know I can do some shit. But if I get a bunch of upgrades, I'm dropping it immediately, knowing that in that example, 4 out of my 20, or I should say 4 out of the 10 upgrades are gone. Great. Now I know that the next pull, I have to get a good amount of gambits to be able to do shit without getting glory. Depending on what warband you have, undead, because of that draw, I got mine at the beginning. I didn't get shit around 2 or 3. So I was able to do a lot, but it's such a good game as far as like making you always think ahead. There's one, and I know I would suck at a tournament because I always forget about the reaction cards. There's gambit cards say reaction. So play this after one of your characters failed an attack. You can attack again. And so I'll attack somebody, failed, and I'm like, all right, power step. And then I'm like, shit, I'm in the next phase. I literally said power step, next phase. I almost want to put those like face up. That's how much I forget reaction cards. But that's a big part of the game and you could probably build a deck with not a lot of those in there, so you don't have to worry about it. But there's some really good ones that you get bonus attacks after things happen. The one I always like is for undead, it's called bone shards. When an opponent kills one of my guys, they take a wound because the bones hit them after I crumbled, they take a wound. And I've killed people that are down to their last wound based on a flying bone shard at them, which is kind of great. So the reaction cards are really fun. You just got to remember you have them. It's a key part in using them.
How much of the game is that initial board placement? For some reason, when I see people just make a long strip board, I get mad.
I personally think that is almost irrelevant. We always play like normal to normal.
Yeah.
I've never played long ways, mostly because I have no table that fits like
exactly
that. But if you play long ways, you have to go long, and you can't even move it. I think if you go long, you got to go exactly long. Whereas if you go horizontal,
you could.
I think it's 3. I think the rule is you got to have 3 match up. So you can either go straight on or offset by 2 on either side. I don't think it's a big deal. Now, what board you pick is a big deal because I have so I got 2 boards in each game. So I have 6 boards, and they're all double-sided. So that's 12 boards, and they sell extra ones I never bought, but I've got 12 boards. Some of them have a bunch of blocked hexes, a bunch of lethal hexes. Some have none. The other one is some of the boards have, like in the case, I keep bringing up the undead because I just played them, but I built them so one-dimensional. They're all about holding objectives. So I want the board that's got starting hexes within 2 hexes from all the, I should say this. I want the starting hexes spread out enough where, depending on where I put the objectives, I'd like to think I can get them all. It's also something to think about too, about picking a board with a starting hex that is on an edge. So then you set that up facing your opponent, so it gets you that much closer to their territory. So if my opponent wins the initiative roll, the big one, to start the game with, the one that says who places first, there's 5 objectives. One person gets to place 3, the other one places 2. If you have an objective-based warband and you get the 3, you got it made. Because now it's like, there's a good chance that one of those 3 are one of your initial objective cards. And you can also hoard them on your side. You want them, come and get them. So you would think it's not a big deal, the initiative, but whoever gets that like undecided, that 5th hex, or 5th objective hex, rather, it's a big deal. And depending on what board you picked, there's one I have where it has like 3 blocked hexes and a starting hex right behind it. That's where I put my ward in, so like to keep him kind of protected. So then I put another undead guy next to him, so he's almost got like more than a half circle around him for protection, because without him, I can't raise anybody. I don't want him to die. So I think board picking is a lot more important than board placement. I think board placement, when we play at home, we always just line them up because it looks better.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with the boards, you said between the seasons, some of the cards are no longer legal to use, but you can still use any boards from any of them?
I believe so. I think all boards are legal. I don't think I heard anything about anything in that realm. I think, yeah, because they're also, I mean, it really depends on which way you put them. That's a big part of it, you know. I think it would be cool to play in an event where you didn't get to decide, because, you know, to take it out of your normal strategy would be kind of, it's not a huge part of the strategy, but it's part of objective-based warbands and part of your initial setup. Once that happens, I mean, you know, like, so on one of the warbands Heather plays, there's a wizard that pushes people around. So she always wants lethal hexes out there to like push people into those. So she'd want to take them, whereas I might not want to take those. So there's some of that involved too, but I don't think the differences in the boards from each season were anything. I think they were just different. I don't think any of them were anything power-wise better. They're just different. New ones have lethal hexes though. The old ones only had blocked hexes, so that's part of it too.
Do they still sell the old season starter sets, or do they stop selling those and move on to the next season and only sell the current season?
So GW would only have Beastgrave, but game stores, you know, if they happen to have a dusty copy, you may get one.
I don't think they reprint them. I don't think they're printing the older ones.
My local store didn't have Nightvaults, so I bought that one online. But they did have they had a ton of warbands, including the first group of them. So they had ones from every single season. I think some of the first season ones were reprinted in new boxes. Oh yeah, because
yes.
the corn one, because that came in the box set. So if you wanted to play the Reavers, that came in this box set, it's out of print. So they did a blister or a booster pack of that one. But I think it kind of is luck of the draw. I bought Nightvault on eBay sealed for like $40. So
Sealed.
yeah, it's a good deal.
I was reading about Magic, and you have to make dice rolls. So unlike some of the other cards you play, which are maybe situational but automatically happen, with Magic, you have to, if you want to cast a lightning bolt or one of the other spells you were saying, it may not go off.
Yeah, so there's Magic dice that come in the Nightvault box and the Beastgrave box, and your spell says a symbol on there. It's either like a little swirly, lightning bolts, or there's a crit on there as well too, which work for all of them. So your spell, depending on the power of it, you have a level of your wizard. So like my Beastman Shaman is level 1. He rolls 1 die, one magic die. There's an upgrade, I forgot, but it gives you another one, but he rolls 1. I'm not gonna take any spells that say you need 2 lightning bolts, because I'm only getting 1 die. You can't get that unless you get some kind of upgrade. But there are some more powerful wizards that do roll more than 1 die. So take the more powerful ones. But you roll those dice. There's 2 ways of doing spells. Either in the power step, that's that step where you just did your activation, or I just did mine, and we're playing cards back and forth until you pass and I pass consecutively. And when you play a spell in there, they're called gambit spells because it happens with a gambit card. And those are things like, I'm going to cast, gust of wind, and I need to get one swirly. I roll it, I get it, and I get to move somebody 2 hexes, for example. That happens in the power step. There are also spells that happen in the action phase, spells to use for attacking normally. So there's the one like a lightning bolt kind of thing. So that's, you roll magic dice instead of your like normal fighting dice. So in the case of my Beastman Shaman, he's got like a staff or something. It's probably like 2 dice, and it needs axes, which is the worst one to get. Hammers is a better thing to get. There's more of them out there. So, but if you cast a spell, it could probably do more damage, and maybe I even get more dice. So you can also do spells in your activation. Normally they're things to attack people with. You would still get your defense dice if you're getting attacked, much like you would at fighting. But if I did a gambit spell, there'd be no defense dice, because it's kind of think of gambit spells as not attack spells. There are other things going on, switching people around, having things fall in a hex and turn it into an obstacle, pushing someone into a lethal hex kind of thing. So I got these. Mike, you asked me earlier about terrain. There's a dude that was selling. He painted up the Beastgrave box set, or the Beastgrave terrain set.
Nice.
And it wasn't really a lot more than this cost. It was crazy. I got the box from the guy. He didn't wrap anything up. It was just thrown in a fucking box. I was so pissed. It was rattling around. And I was going to say something. Then I opened it and realized every single piece was perfect and undamaged. Even this one, which I thought, like, this will come on.
You're going to chip the piss crystals.
Yeah, so I didn't say anything to him, even though I was kind of irritated, but everything was still perfect in it. So
yeah,
I usually use these for like blocking hexes, kind of, though, and then the ones that look more like something's happening, like this bubbling pit here. The thing is, when a blocking hex, you can't go in, but a lethal hex, you get pushed in and you're in there. So I'm sure the real tournament guys probably prefer to use the actual chits and put them on there, but I put them that. I'll move it aside though. But it's a pretty cool terrain though, and Etsy's got some stuff too we were talking about as well.
That terrain pack is something that GW sells separately. It's not included in.
It's separate. It's not in the Beastgrave box set. So there's a Beastgrave terrain set with those, and then I didn't even know this, but there's a Nightvault terrain set, which there's nothing different about it as far as rules wise, but they're more like I don't know, more kind of like magical looking, more kind of like Eldar-ish looking with like symbols and stuff. Whereas that's more like things found in a cave, which I think it looked cooler anyway. But so there's 2 terrain sets, they're all plastic, hard plastic. They paint up really nice. Definitely check those out.
And Nightvault is when they introduce the magic element to the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to me that there's more magic using Beastgrave warbands than Nightvault, because Nightvault also ported over some of the initial ones. But like I said earlier, it doesn't matter. Like, orcs fucking kill you no matter what. There's no magic involved. And I've gotten burned on spells before too. You blow through, someone kills your wizard. Like if I put 3 or 4 spells in there, it sucks when those come up. So I'm actually was really happy that it didn't ruin the game. It didn't overpower the game with, oh great, now everyone's got to have a magic user. Like you don't. It's nice when things are laid out nicely and everything works. It's awesome. And if you like playing those kind of magic type things in games, you'll love it. But if you like just beating someone's ass, there's races for you too.
So I know I'm not the target audience, but I have the dwarves, the dwarf pack from originally. What do I need to get to be up to? Do what?
Is it the slave? Because they did one of the dwarves with guns now and armor.
Yeah,
the Kieran Overlords.
Yeah, those are the new ones.
It was all the Slayers.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
Fire
Slayers.
Slayers.
Okay, yeah.
So I have that. If I just got the Beastgrave box set, would I be good to go? It may not be optimum, but I'd be okay.
You'll be fine. Yeah, it's any of the box sets are going to give you enough of the generics or universals rather to you'd be fine. I would just like I said, the biggest ones I shoot for are basic upgrades, things that work on any model, things that will help you in the game. The two biggest ones are movement, especially for dwarves. I would imagine they're probably 3s or 2s. I don't even know. Undead are 2. I think 3 and 4 are some of the more human type ones. So movement would be helpful, and more wounds is always helpful. So the Beastgrave box set will give you enough universals to make a decent list there. It might be hard to make 2 warbands out of it to go against someone, because you're going to want to grab all the good universals. I don't know if they have duplicates because I combined all my cards and threw everything together. But I don't know if you were to buy the Beastgrave box set, if there's 2 of every or 2, you know what I mean? I don't know that. So if it was for you to make something playable against somebody else who already has their own shit, you're totally fine. Every single box of every warband you buy comes with new universals. Sometimes there are ones that are really good, that are highly sought after. Sometimes there are ones that are like, you know what, I would try this. This might be a cool thing to try for an objective. So just the idea of having an option to put fun, weird things in your deck, you can do. I looked online, like after we played a bunch of games for a couple of weeks, I looked online. So there's some kind of Underworlds like tournament database where it listed where everybody, like all these different tournaments, what races they played, what all their decks were, and looked at them. I had nothing even close to any of that shit. It was like, and at first I was kind of like, oh my, like, no, what, fuck it. Like if you're having fun and if you're winning and you're enjoying it, doesn't matter. But it's what the experts claim is the most optimal deck. It may not matter to you whatsoever. You're going to find your play style the way you want it. I mean, there's vast differences in the objectives. Or, those objective cards, you could have one that doesn't care about objectives on the table. Like most of my warbands are other things, other ways to get it. Now, when I'm playing those, sometimes just to be fun, I will stop on an objective when I'm moving or charging. Hope my opponent thinks, wow, that number 3 must mean a lot to him. I better try to get him off there. And mine was, stay alive for 3 rounds, whatever, It was, so it all depends on how you build it. I don't think there's anything optimal. I think it's your play style. If you're the type that wants to try to cover ground and go after objectives, great. But I mean, there's enough cards in there to swap objectives, swap characters on the board. There's just a bunch of goofy shit you can do. There's some spells that actually scatter. I don't have a lot of those in mind, but there's some that actually, if they scatter, you roll 3 dice, and then based on what you roll, there's a little template, and you pick kind of like where it scatters to. So there's a lot of just weird randomness that could happen. I'm guessing a lot of tournament players don't pick the weird shit, but I think it's really fun when you play.
Classic orc player mentality right there.
Yeah, give me that souped up shock attack gun. I added another thing to that. So, because there's a new total side, there's 40k orcs. There's a new stratagem for orcs called the souped up shaka that does 2d6 wounds, and 2d6 strength and 2d6 damage. It's crazy, but everyone's like, well, you got to change the thing on the model. And, fine, I'll do it. So I put like half of it almost looks like what's the warp field, the teleport, whatever, at the front of it. This guy's gun, the model is this big. His gun is this big. It's awesome.
Is there an image of what?
Oh, go ahead.
Is there an image of what this souped up shotgun is supposed to look like?
No, It's in so 40K released. This should be Zlurp Nation content, by the way. By the way, quick side note: sign up to Zlurp Nation, you get extra stuff. This one you're getting for free. I will.
First one's always free.
I will name names. There was a couple of new books that came out, which most people didn't buy. I bought them because they're pretty badass. But they are. They've got campaign rules in them for things that I'll probably never do, but in my head I'll dream about doing. But in the back of each one of these has extra.
Those are great shitter reading books.
They're phenomenal. Like in the back of these, they have got extra detachments, and so the souped up Shaka is. This is riveting. It's not in that one. But anyway, so.
All right.
You got me, Extreme.
No, I mean, you got me because I don't even understand stratagems.
You BS the BSer. Congratulations. Okay?
Get a shitter.
I'm fucking proud of yourself. So, Underworlds, Extreme, how quickly are you going to head down to Game Preserve?
Game Preserve is my local store.
Okay, just wanted to check, make sure that was still it. You're going to go down there and be like, knock. Be like, you guys still got COVID? Yeah? Shit, okay. Then you go back. Hey, are we all cool now? Okay, who's down for some Underworlds? Are you going to say that?
I would say that I'm more likely to now than before we did this episode. But I don't know. We'll see.
Did it scare you off a little bit thinking it was too competitive?
That was definitely one of the aspects, and how much deck building was involved into it. That kind of scared me off a little bit too, because I don't really get into card games very often.
You know, here's the thing too is I've got a small sample size now and a small penis as well. Not a sample. You can have the whole thing. But I'm playing against my wife. I'm not playing against insert name of genius wargamer. So, you know, results may vary with all of this stuff. But I know that if you build a deck and learn how to play your favorite warband with those objectives that are in there and how the best way to achieve those, you'll have fun playing. I think what would suck is if you got sucked into a very competitive scene. We do Underworlds every Wednesday night, man. Bring your shit. We're gonna do round robin, and then like on the fly, you're like, switching stuff out.
Sideboard, bro.
I think that would suck because I think, yeah, right. If you had two different ones, I just think that it would be too hard to just change styles. So I would pick with cards you think you're cool. If you want to, run them by me. But I mean, and then learn how to play to achieve those objectives. There are some objectives in the game that give you 6, I think even 7 glory. But it's some crazy shit, like annihilate everybody on the board. Oh, by the way, I didn't say this. You don't automatically win if you kill everybody. I never said that before, but you don't. And I can win. If you kill all my models, I can still win. It's all about the glory, death or glory. It's not about, heavy models. But I mean, there's a card, I think it's Annihilation. Kill everybody on their side, and then you have to have at least X amount, I think. I'm cloudy on it because I never take it. Because it's like, it's very rare to kill everybody on the side. Plus, if you go against undead, I have 7 models and they're coming back. Like, you're never, ever, ever going to destroy my whole warband. It's never going to happen. It won't. It's not enough turns in the game to make it happen. Because I can literally waste all 4 of my actions to bring people back.
Sucker's not putting that one in there is what you're saying.
Yeah, but if you get it, you get it. I mean, it was in some of those championship decks, I think. So, I guess the thought is if you come across a situation, so in the case of the Stormcast, there's only 3 of them. They're tough as hell. And when they go on guard, it makes them even tougher. Because when you go on guard, you can use shields or dodge on the dice, which means they're pretty much, it's hard to you have to crit usually to roll a crit to get into their armor. And then they can't be pushed back, so they can plop them on objectives. So when you go on guard, it's really good. And if you're a Stormcast. However, there's only 3 of them. And you got 12 turns if you look at it like that. 12 turns to kill 3 guys. Some people are like, you know what? I can do it. And I bet Orcs probably could. Khorne probably could. Some of the hard the trick is you have to use models where their weapons do a lot of damage. And so when you look at a card of any character, I look at the undead ones, they're usually 1 damage on each of them. It's like a little, and so if each orc has 3 or 4 wounds and they're adding wounds with upgrades, like it's very hard. You gotta really like that corn guy with the axe, the big one, he's one of my favorite guys, my favorite guy in that warband, because I know that I can send him out as like, Kingslayer. He's basically just there to dish out a lot of damage, and I'll give him an upgrade. So you do even, +1 wound or +1 wound to next attack phase kind of thing. So you have to know how much damage you dish out to kill things. You get 1 glory when you kill somebody, but there's so many more ways to get glory in the game that killing, at least for a lot of the warbands I play, is kind of just a side thing. Like, it'd be cool if I can kill someone, but I'm really trying to play my own game over here. You're just kind of in the way, trying to like kill me, but I'm trying to do all this other stuff over here. So Underworlds is a great game. You just have to buy Beastgrave to get up to date, get everything in there, and then pick the warband you want to play. There are, I think, 24 of them right now out there. You can check GW's site for that. Whatever armies you think are cool in Age of Sigmar, there is at least 1 warband that corresponds with that. A little bit of fluff on the card lets you kind of get into that a little bit. There's fluff inside each of the rule books, a little bit talking about the different settings that you play in each of the 3 games. But it's great. I think my favorite one to play is Beastmen, because they get to do a little bit of everything. The leader is a shaman, but then like kind of like my second in command guy he's almost like what a beast lord would be in Warhammer Fantasy. He's all just killing. And then it's a bunch of little like Ungor types that some have bows, some have spears. And so it's a really cool mix of things. I like those. It really makes me think. But for straight up killing, orcs and Khorne are also pretty damn good at that as well. So it's a fun game. And like I said, just stick with the one you think is cool. Extreme bought dwarves because he likes dwarves in games. I like a lot of chaos things and orcs, so I started with all of those. So I think it's just start with that. Grab a friend who likes board games, or grab one who likes GW games and see if they can have an open mind and play a game that is nothing, zero at all like a GW game. It is a board game for all intents and purposes that happens to have the world's best models in the box. That's the only GW thing about it, is there's amazing models. It is a board game for all their purposes. Anything else from you guys?
No, I think I'm good.
So Mike, I think I'm going to go ahead and get Beastgrave, and also I think I'm going to try the Caradon Overlords.
Nice.
I already have the Worm Splat because I like all things Nurgle.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's another one. 3 models, right?
Yeah, 3 models. Yep.
Yeah, so I've never played against them or with them, but I would imagine they're going to be Stormcast-like in that, because Nurgle's already extra tough.
Yeah.
So I imagine they do have staying power, but with them, I mean, what I found with the smaller warbands, if you build a deck for objective, if you don't forget it, but if you build a deck for objectives, plop on the objective, put him on guard, and be like, good luck. Come at me, bro. If you build a deck not objectives, then you can start killing stuff, dude. But I mean, I don't want to say it's boring to play that way, but it's a valid. With Stormcast, that's the only way I would know how to play, is just plop them down and say, move me. I'm a statue. Go ahead and move me. Good luck with that. But
one of the Stormcast warbands has the ranged attack too, right?
There was
Yeah.
in the Nightvault box set was a second Stormcast box. Far Striders, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's the name.
I always think it says fart when I see it every time, and I have to do a double take. But yeah, so I think it all depends on your playing style. Just know that 3 models, so everything's important. If you have 5, 6, or 7 models, you can get away with a lot of shit. If you have 3, 1 fuck up and you're done, because there are a lot of objective cards that say things like must have more. Like here's one: must have more surviving members at the end of round 3 than your opponent. Minimum 3. Like, oh shit! Like, sorry, like you get screwed out a lot of those with 3 models. But I'm sure they're really tough. So let me know how that goes.
Yeah.
Which one did you say you're going to get, Byron?
The Caradon Overlords, the steampunk dwarves, because they have a balloon guy, and I've always wanted to paint up a balloon guy.
I picked these up because one thing that's great about, for someone like me who doesn't like painting, and I'm sure we'll have another episode when we talk about like more hobby stuff, but I don't mind painting armies. That's fine because they're not going to look great. They're assembly line. I just don't like painting a lot of skirmish games because I get fickle. I switch things in and out, and it's like, so what I love is there's some really great painters on the internet that say, here you go. We got these. I'm going to give you all the cards that go with them. I'll give you the universal that go with them too. And it's not usually, I mean, it might be double what the box set cost or maybe a little more, but it's like, I mean, I painted one of my 8 myself. The rest I bought. And I bought orcs. They're over there on the shelf, but I think it was like $80. And it was like a ton of cards with it too. So that's something cool. If you're a board gamer that watches this and you want to play Underworlds and you may not be into painting because you're not really a war gamer, go online, go to eBay. I mean, I want you to support your store, but whatever. Buy the box set there and then buy the war man you want, pro painted on eBay.
But are they still coming in the colored plastic?
They are.
Initially?
Yeah.
So in theory, you could just crack the box open, snap them together, and play.
Yeah, they're all snap kits. I mean, I know it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, they're all just fucking amazing looking. Like, I've yet to see models that are just shit to me of this line. I mean, they're Age of Sigmar, and even the stuff I don't like in Age of Sigmar, I haven't seen a lot of that in Underworlds. They're just amazing models, and they snap together, and they got bases already done for you. I mean, what more can you ask for? So, yeah, colored plastic is there. You could try to think what else you can get for it. There's other dice you can buy if you want. I bought a few extra packs just to have some different colors. But
yeah, I did when it first came out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bone ones are my favorite. Even though they came, I think they were like for Beastmen. They're like my favorite for Undead and everything. They look really cool on the tabletop. But yeah, it's just a fantastic game. I mean, it's kind of funny when we first started playing. There was I wasn't sure what to take. I was thinking almost like Extreme, where it was like, what is this? Too competitive? Is it for me? After I played a bunch, and the fact that my wife, who does not play as many games as I do, she loves the game too. It's probably her favorite game. It's fantastic. So, something for everybody. Shall we give it our ratings?
Sure.
Okay. So who here has played it besides me? No Extreme?
Well, I've done the 2 demo games of Shadespire, but that barely counts.
And I haven't played since Shadespire, so I haven't played with Nightvault or Beastgrave.
So this is episode 3 to anyone watching. Episode 1, oh no, this is episode 4, sorry. Good thing I'm not in charge of the episode numbers. Episode 4, episode 2, we covered Riot Quest. I still voted on that, even though I haven't played the game because
They're very similar, though. The more you talk about it, the more I think about it. They're very similar games.
Well, you can say that I can't because I haven't played Riot Quest. However, you did say, exact words, Biron, you did say this was for fun, not that serious, and I believe Extreme said the dreaded B and P word. What is the B and P word, Extreme?
Bowel movements and pee.
No, beer and pretzels game. He's like, I don't like saying it, but some people say it. I don't like it. So,
well, JP, if you remember when this first came out, I played it, and you said, I don't want to get a new game. And I say, this isn't a game you get into like 40K or fantasy. It's a board game.
Yeah, but I'm also always leery when you bring something up.
Yeah, because I'll be like, I've moved on.
You are like, when I'm not a parent, but I would imagine parents tell their kids, stay away from that guy.
Yeah.
It gets you in over your head. So, one puff here turns into Biron doing lines of coke off of transvestite titties. Yeah. I'm just saying, watch out for this guy.
Hey, we should get into Drop Zone Commander. Everyone spent a lot of money on it.
I've been trying to get my locals into that game, and I'm getting the same. I'm getting the friendly-ass Grognar's treatment with them as well.
It's like, I still don't understand close combat. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's a different rule book now, so at least there's that. So
Sorry, Don Roach.
yeah,
I don't get it.
Battle for Earth rulebook on that one. But anyway, so we've all played. I played more. Shree hasn't played a lot. You guys played a little bit. What are these Zlurpee ratings? Mike?
I'll give it a 3.
Where's Mike? Biron, new rule, by the way. When we start each episode,
Point out where everything is.
because your screen is the recorded one, so you need to tell
Yeah.
all of us.
Mike's to the right of you.
Okay. Hold on.
I got it. I know where everybody is.
Fuck off,
Myron,
Shane.
Mike,
what?
Johnny.
You were writing shit down half the time anyway. Don't worry about it.
What I will do before every episode is I'll do a screenshot of where everyone's at and send it in the chat.
Perfect, because that won't be awkward. All right. So, Mike, what is your Zlurpee rating?
I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, okay.
I'm excited about, because I'm getting to Beastgrave. I'm excited about trying it out again. But I realize it's not for everyone. But your enthusiasm has inspired me to want to try it again. So
Well, I think that what our viewers are going to find, and part of the longtime Zlurpcast fans know very well that with Extreme and myself, the enthusiasm is real, and the lack of enthusiasm is also real. So we've doubled our potential enthusiasm by bringing on Biron, accent over the A, Biron, and Valdrick. We've doubled the potential. We've also potentially doubled the lack of enthusiasm for something. I'm waiting for like a 1-1-1-1 across the board game.
This game falls.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen.
I don't know. That sounds like a bad time. I'm not waiting for that.
Well, you know what's fun? I will say it's going to be skewed anyway because, so peek behind the curtain. Everyone wants that. Extreme's making up the topics.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to pick a garbage game that we all think is terrible, but he might because he's kind of a prick. We're talking to the guy who says, "I'm done with cons. I'm done with people."
I hate Blood Bowl. I hate, what's his name, Nate Green?
Extreme
No.
never said that.
Oh.
I never said I hate Blood Bowl.
Hey, show
Never.
it. Show it. Extreme. That's the block dice on Blood Bowl.
What does
Yeah.
WP stand for?
What's that?
What does the WP you have tattooed on your arm stand for?
WP.
I don't know.
I don't know.
With penis.
yeah.
So Mike gives it a 3 Zlurpees. There's probably still there.
Yep.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. Is it an S or is it a Z this time?
It depends. It depends how late it gets and how much Ambien I have in me when I'm doing it.
Always got to bust balls. You understand. I'm going to get you a new graphic. Extreme, what is your rating?
I will say that my rating has gone up from what I expected it to be, again, with your enthusiasm and explaining the game. I'm going to give it a 3.
It was a 2 before?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, my God. Can we phone Jervis Johnson, please?
Did he have anything to do with this game?
No, I don't. Who made it? That's a good. Oh, they don't give credit anymore. That's right.
Friend of the show, Jervis Johnson.
They don't. Yeah, totally. Yeah, GW doesn't give credit to authors anymore, which is terrible.
And smart.
They're very smart. They own it. Who wrote it? We did.
Staff.
Yeah. Studio, bitch. All right, so 3 Zlurpees from Valdrick. 3 Zlurpees for Extreme. Biron.
I'm on 3.
We don't do halves here, though. We don't do that.
So halves are only for the average.
Okay. The average.
Yeah.
3 from you as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
5.
I am.
Oh,
Perfect
snap.
score.
5.
8, 11, 14.
I'm not. I will tell you that we are very early in our Zlurpcast TV run. This may go longer than The Simpsons. We don't know. By the way, we're not going to outlive The Simpsons, but I'm not going to give away 5s like you know what I mean. Don't think this is setting the tone for 5. It's not going to happen. But this time it is happening.
Well,
5.
this is
What's the total?
Total
It's
is
the first 5 from anybody.
3.5.
Go ahead, Extreme. What do you wait? Talk shit. Come on.
No, I'm not. It's the first 5 from anybody on the Zlurpcast.
Okay.
So this is like a historic moment.
It's true. 5.
5. That gives us a 3.5 overall. Check my
Okay.
math, Mike.
Sure.
All Mike said was show your work. I'm like, oh, come on, asshole. Come on, prop.
3.5. Yep. Yeah. Duh. 14.
All right. So, once again, this has been Warhammer Underworlds, covering the 3 seasons. There'll be a 4th at some point. Maybe we'll revisit again. We shall see. We've got a lot of games to get through. I'm sure one of your favorite games will be talked about on this show. Make sure to subscribe. Slurp on that button. We doubled our subscribers right after the first episode was launched. I like this trend. Every episode doubling. Can that happen?
Exponential growth.
What that guy's, sorry. Right?
Yeah, I'm just above you.
Oh, fuck off, Extreme. You weren't paying attention anyway.
I was.
No.
You guys had a side talk before I came on. You probably discussed about the who's in what box.
No, not at all.
I think I just have the same view pulled up that he has.
Wait,
I think it's based on who joins the call when, actually.
How do you change views?
I just have the 4 up. Biron, can you make it so I can like stretch it out or no?
No. Someone can. I can't.
Okay, just checking. Make sure to follow Zlurpcast on all your favorite social mediums, at Zlurpcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Join the discussion, the Zlurpcast discussion on Facebook as well. If you have any complaints whatsoever, any feedback, comments are ideal. If you want to be secretive, you want to send nudes, zlurpcast@gmail.com. It goes right to Biron. I'm copied on it because I don't trust anyone. This has been Zlurpcast TV. Talk to you in episode 5.